welcome to Knit, Sip, Happy. This is a knitting podcast and it is episode 21 today. I am coming to you from a very warm and muggy Moncton, New Brunswick on the east coast of Canada. Quick weather report. We have gone from rain all of June with very little warm or sunny weather to stinking hot. It has been over 30 degrees for the last few days and quite steamy and humid because of all the rain we've had. We wait for summer all year long and then we complain how hot it is. It's a Canadian thing. So today is Monday, July 10th. I'm not sure what day you will see this, but it is a Monday for me. I'm currently alone in the house. My husband is working. When he gets home, I'm going to have to head into work. It's my day off, but I've got some things to do. It's been a busy couple of weeks, 3 weeks, I guess. I'm drinking a Traminer Riesling blend from Australia. Gewürztraminer and Riesling are two of my favorite white wines, and this is a blend of the both, and I think it's the best of both worlds. Because it's hot and I wanted some white wine. I have put aside a couple of really special bottles. It's our wedding anniversary tomorrow, 31st wedding anniversary. Normally I try and plan a night away or a couple of days away to do something fun, but we have a big trip planned later and I'll tell you that later in chatter, but apparently we've kind of gone right into chatter. My name is Nancy. Welcome. If you are new here, I hope you enjoy what you see. If you're one of my regular viewers, nice to see you again. Thanks for being here. I am Knit, Sip, Happy in all of the places. I will put the links here on the screen, and just for reference purposes, everything that I talk about will be listed below. I will have links to my Ravelry pages and all of that good stuff. So yeah, it's been a busy like I said, it's been 3 weeks. I had some staff on vacation and I don't know where the time has gone. It feels like I was just here talking to you, but I have a pile of knitting to show you. I have a couple of 3 finished objects, I guess. I'm just going to start off with a bit more ramble. We just spent the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. There's a big it's not even a classic car show, just a car show that happens here in Moncton, New Brunswick every year. I'm getting super close to you. It's called Atlantic Nationals, and we have 2 classic cars. I may have shown you pictures before. I'll put a couple here. I'm going to have a whole bunch of footage at the end that I took some videos of walking around the show before it got too hot. We went out walking quite early and then hid in the shade for the rest of the day so we didn't melt. But I had a Saturday sitting at our car under the tree for the shade, probably had a little bit of wine in my sippy cup. I was knitting away and a young couple came over and were looking at our T-bird, and I said hello, and the young man, Chris I believe his name was, said, "She wants to say hello to you." Well, Stephanie, a knitter who watches the podcast, came up to the car, didn't realize we were going to be there, didn't realize that was the car she was looking at, but saw me and realized who I was. So we had a lovely little chat. We took a picture. She showed me her sock knitting bag. Yeah, she has been knitting the Wintry Woods. She was using the Wintry Woods sock pattern, toe-up pattern, with some self-striping yarn because it's become her sock recipe. Well, and didn't that just make my day? And she was so sweet and said I was going to get recognized a whole lot, which of course I didn't because I was at a car show with mostly men. But it was lovely to meet you, Stephanie. Thank you so much for coming and saying hello. It was a treat. My husband was befuddled. He was talking to a car guy, and he turned around and kind of caught the tail end of what was going on. And he thought I knew Stephanie from Knitting Group or somewhere local. And I told him that she was a viewer of the podcast and, had recognized me. And his comment was, "I don't know if I'd recognize you in this crowd." Nothing like a husband of 31 years to ground you. Anyway, that was little rambly chat to start the episode to warm me up, I guess, and bring me all the happy vibes back, because it was lovely. All right, let's move on. Like I said, I'll put some, if you're a car fan or a car show fan or wanted to see what we got up to on the weekend, I'll put some footage at the end. So we're going to start again another episode with a what I'm wearing and a finished object all at the same time. So I'm going to move my chair back so I can stand up and give you a little tour. This is my Lotus Lake tea. Goodness, my eyes are watering from having that little giggle. The Lotus Lake tea that I am testing for Anina from Annie UT Knits. It's going to be released. I have a release date. It's going to be released on July 21st. So I'm going to stand up and show you what I've done. I showed you this last time as a whip, and I had been knitting. I told you I had been knitting in the round when I was out with friends, and I was pretty sure I had overshot the length. I had overshot the length by quite a bit, but I was happily knitting while we were chatting, so it was fine. It wasn't wasted time at all. So let's do this. Move my chair out of the way, and here we are. So I finished this last week, and then on one of those stinking hot days, I blocked it in our screen room. I didn't want to leave it out in the full sun. I wasn't sure if the color would fade in the bright sunshine. So as you can see, it is a t-shirt with a beautiful lace bottom, nice rounded neck. I'm going to come up a little closer. I've got this weird, oh, actually, you can't see it on camera. Must have been when I picked up, yeah, there it is right there. I've got this weird ladder. So it must have been when I picked up. So I may have to go back in and just kind of close that. I don't know how much it's going to bother me. Maybe it won't. So I also test knit the Tankar tee for Anina, and it is a drop shoulder design, but with a very clever decrease section underneath your arms. You're getting this curved decrease band to bring it a little closer to your body. As I've told you before, I'm not a big fan of drop shoulders because I find I look like SpongeBob SquarePants. I don't do well with square. So I was really intrigued by this and enjoyed the Tankar knit, and I've been enjoying wearing it. So when this option came up as well with the pretty lace and well, no, it's DK as well. I'm lying. I jumped on it. So let's finish with this little tour here. So we've got these really great decreases down here, and then you work down the body. I actually put mine on when I finished my first yarn. I went back and did the little sleeve cuffs because according to the pattern, I should have been running out of yarn. I actually had 50 grams left. Let me get back to the tour and then I'll give you all the details when I'm sitting down again. So I lengthened the body by, I think, an inch before I started the lace. I ended up having to pull out, I think, about 3.5 inches from when I showed you last time as a whip. I didn't do any A-line increases because the lace panel is quite wide and I've had to have increased that many stitches to make the lace fit. So what I did when I blocked it, I put my blocking wires in and I stretched it this way to get a little more of that roomy feel that I like to accommodate my pear-shaped hips, which you can see quite well right there. I also blocked the lace out to the points because I thought it was pretty. If you follow Anina, you'll be seeing other versions, and I'm not sure some of the testers haven't blocked to points like I did. I'll just show you, turn around. Just a nice round collar. I'm talking and you probably can't hear me. Hang on. Okay. Let me know. Would you rather a live show or the last time I did like a little video and inserted it? I don't know. Do you have a preference? Where was I? I think I was about there. All right. Yeah, so this was a Mill Ends yarn that I picked up from Small Bird Workshop, I believe in 2019. can't remember, but it is a linen cotton bamboo blend. And it was that fine lace. And if you've been around since the beginning, I think on my first episode, I was talking about swatching with it and how horrible it was. So I tried pre-washing a skein 2 episodes ago, and that didn't work out so well either. So I was really not sure if I was going to enjoy this knit. I loved it. I worked it with my ChiaoGoo interchangeable needles, and it was just sharp enough to pick up both of those lace strands. Did I say I held the lace double? Hold on. So this is my leftover yarn. I had 50 grams left. So I had quite a lot of yarn still left over. So I had 3 skeins of this. So the first part of the body, I was using 2 skeins side by side in my project bag, and I was just pulling one strand and one strand. For the third skein, I didn't feel like making 2 small skeins, so I just used my button trick. So you just put 1 strand through each side of the button, and you pull from the inside and the outside of your cake, and things don't get tangled. I was a little worried about that because of the linen content, wondering if it would, because I know when you pull from the center, sometimes the linen just collapses, but it did really well. It didn't get too messy at all. So I'll put a link. I've got a little video showing you how to use this button trick on 2 at a time socks. But obviously, if you need to hold yarn double and don't want to split your skeins up, this is a great way of doing it. So I think I can do a little info card. So I'll put that. I don't know which side it's going to be on, but I'll have that linked up on the screen here for you if anybody's interested in that. But no, the knitting was actually very, very pleasant. I was holding 2 strands of this lace weight double to give me a DK gauge at 21 stitches over 4 inches. The combination of the ChiaoGoo needle was just sharp enough, but not so sharp that it split the strands. I don't think I dropped a strand through any part of this knit, which I was totally worried about. You know how when you knit with mohair, sometimes when you knit with 2 yarns held together, sometimes you only grab the 1 strand on your needle. That didn't happen. So yeah, I was thrilled. It was a very enjoyable knit. The yarn worked out perfectly. I blocked it, like I said, outside. It feels a little crunchy on my body, but as with most things linen, as I wear it more, it will soften up. And I would happily, like I said, it's going to be 30 degrees out there again and holy humidity. I'm wearing this out to run my errands today because I know it's going to breathe and it's going to be light and lovely. I lengthened the body. I think I mentioned that. I lengthened the body an extra inch because if you saw when I was standing up, I didn't want the lace. I wanted the lace to be hitting at a waistband or lower than a waistband. I didn't want the lace to be higher than a waistband for skin poking out. I wanted to have the coverage there. So I made sure I had my try-on cords and I was trying on to make sure I had the right, because I remember I was ripping out. I was unknitting at that point. So I was doing it, an inch at a time and then just kind of seeing how I felt. My sweater plan normally is when I split for the sleeves, the next time I run out of yarn, I complete the neckband and the sleeves. And that way, when I do my try-ons, you're actually getting an accurate fit. Okay, so I showed you this project as a whip cheeky finished object last time in this fun British bag that I won in a knit along from Tracy at Knitting on the Float a while ago. I think it was back when Harry and Meghan got married. Maybe? Tracy, was it? I have a bag full of scraps here. This was for my nano sock project. I showed you some of these last time as finished objects, but really they were still a whip because I was working on catching up on my sock designs. I can see the rest of them, I think. Oh no, I can't. Wrong side. They're back here. The rest of them are piled up. What I did when I was just looking for something mindless during these busy days that I've had, I picked through my scraps and caught up on all of my little mini socks. So if you haven't been here before, this is the Nano Sock Christmas Ornament pattern. I have quite heavily modified it, and all of my modifications are in my project page that's listed below. And what I'm doing with this is I'm creating a garland. This is yarn from all of my sock designs. I have the rest of them already done, like I said. So I've been putting the yarn aside to make these little mini socks, and I'm going to rig up some kind of, back here I think, kind of a wash line type thing with a little clothes peg so I can pin these on. And every time I release a new design, I'll knit the little nano sock and it'll be added to the collection as a really fun memory of this journey that I'm on right now, because who knows how long it's going to last. So I'll just run you through these really quick. This is a super special one. This is from Deborah Yarn Indulgences. It is her BFL sock, and this was the yarn that was used in the Lina 52 Weeks of Socks Volume 2, my Hexie Diamond socks. I'll put a picture up here. And this pattern is available in the book, and it will be available for individual sale at the end of August, beginning of September. I just have to figure out the logistics of that. And that'll become more clear as we talk a little later on. This is my Wintry Woods, from my Wintry Woods sock pattern. This is yarn from Amanda at Sweet Skein of Mine. The yarn is called Walk in the Woods. This is Blooming. Come on, why are you always there we go. This is the Blooming colorway from the Blooming Lovely socks from Kim and Colin at Ginger Snap. This was from Knit City Montreal. The second Knit City Montreal was Papow, Parade of Cones. This is Sockmaw from Deborah at Yarn Indulgences. And that worked out really fun, micro striping. And then last but not least, this is probably going to blow out as well, because I know it did a lot last episode. This is from the Swiss Dot Shorties pattern. This is from Botanical Yarns, and it's her Sakura Cordia colorway, and it was a sock set. So I used a little bit of the contrast color just to do that I-cord bind off and the little hanger. So I'm up to date with those. So this big bag of scraps needs to be emptied out, and I'm going to talk to you next time about what I'm going to do with some of these special scraps, and get ready for the next design. And we'll talk about that later as well. Okay. The last finished object that I have is the Smoke Gets in Your Eyes socks. I have 2 of them. These were a work in progress last time, and I had one partly done, and then I realized I had a problem with yardage. I overshot by quite a bit and had to rip out. So I fixed I ripped it out right away. I introduced more of the contrast color, did some stripes to use up every single last bit. This was the end of a single sock blank from Amanda at Sweet Skein of Mine. So you can see you've got some, it looks quite different from one sock to the other, but I love that. It's fun. So this is using my Smoke Gets in Your Eyes pattern. Just a little slip stitch kind of cable-y without a cable needle pattern. I did a fish lips kiss heel with a mini gusset just to make the heel a little bit deeper. So basically what I did is you can see that the line kind of moves here. I've increased stitches for 10 rows, 10 repeats. So I've got 10 extra stitches here, and then I decrease those 10 extra stitches out here. And so that gives me a deeper heel. So these are going in the gift pile. I know who they're for, but I'm not going to say because I'm pretty sure they watch the podcast. And it was great usage of scraps. This is what I had left. I had a little nugget of the sock blank, and I had 2 little balls of the contrast color. And I said these were just scraps. I already have a full pair of socks in this sock blank. So I just pulled this turquoise color out of stash to use for contrast. And I think it worked super effectively. So that is my last finished object. And I think I just have one new whip. 2 if we include design, and we're going to do a little design chat part later if you want to fast forward, but anyway, we'll transition. So, the only garment I have on the needles right now is, I worked on a lot this weekend, with the very humid temperatures. When I go out, I love to knit in public. I had taken socks with me, and the feel of the wool on my hands in the crazy high humidity just wasn't pleasant. It just wasn't working for me. So my Cloudsley by Isabel Kramer, that's being housed in this beautiful bag that was new the last time I was here to visit. So, and this is being knit in Knitting for Olive, pure silk. This is my first time using this yarn. I picked this up at Knit City Montreal when I was there in May, and the colorway is fuchsia. So this silk isn't a slippery, silky silk. It's not rough either, but it's matte. It doesn't have that shiny, silky look to it. It's called Burrata silk. I'd never heard of it before. Let me see. I'm pretty sure I have some stitch stoppers in here that I'm not using. I better put them on before I rip my stitches off my needles. Showing you. Now that I say that, maybe I don't. No, I have a scrunchie. That's not going to help. Okay, we're just going to go for it. So, this is, it's showing up really bright on the camera. It's not this bright in person. It's a little deeper. Yeah, it's just showing up super bright. I've got a lot of natural light coming in the window today. So this is a V-neck. It's Cloudsley by Isabel Kramer. And since I was here, like I said, I have done quite a lot of work on this. So I have separated for the sleeves, and I have done both of the sleeves. It just has a little, oh, sorry if I'm clanging on my stand here, a little garter edged cuff on there. I forgot to go down needle size for that garter like I was supposed to, but I think it'll be fine. It doesn't look like it's flaring out. This has a very clever sleeve shoulder construction. If you watched Sophie from Cozy Meadow Knits, she was showing you this in her Dingley Dell. You've got a very straight seam across the shoulder, and then it spreads out to make that shoulder cap. I've done a lot of Isabel Kramer designs, and this is the first one I've ever done with this style shoulder. And I've had a couple of try-ons, and it feels really nice. So it's just a nice V-neck tee, but the showstopper is this beautiful slip stitch cable panel that runs all the way down the back of it. I've been doing this without a cable needle. It's quite easy to do. So I talked about this last time. I had added more sleeves when I was doing the raglan increases. I'd added more sleeve stitches to give myself more room. I like my garments to be a little closer fitting across my bust and then to flare away from my body. So I am doing my A-line increases like I always do. I get a lot of questions about this. So Isabel Kramer is very handy. She usually puts in a little faux side seam. There's just one purl stitch. Let me get rid of that. There's just one purl stitch running down the center, which makes it super easy to then find you've got your side seams already in place. And all I'm doing is a make one right and a make one left on either side of that purl. I've changed yarns here. Either one of those on either side of the purl stitch. So I knit to after the stitch marker, I knit one, I make one left, I work to the next stitch marker, one stitch before the stitch marker. I make one right, knit one, purl one for the side seam, knit one, make one right, make one left, sorry, work my way around to the end of round. One stitch before end of round, I will make one right. So I'm increasing 4 stitches every time one of these safety pins. I was out knitting yesterday and I didn't have any safety pin stitch markers with me. So the increases are still happening. I'm just having to count them and not have that visual of these to know how many. So I'm doing them every 8 rounds, which is about every inch and a quarter. And I accomplished so much with this over the weekend. I'm soon ready to have a try on of this because we're getting into a length where I need to just kind of see where I'm at. So, as I said, I got a lot accomplished on this one over the weekend because it just felt lovely in my hands compared to my other projects. So, Cloudsley, Isabel Kramer, anything it's in progress, but I do have notes on my Ravelry page with what I've been doing as I've been going along and any modifications. Okay, let me get myself back together here. I'm knitting this on my Hiya Sharps. I was a little concerned they were going to be too sharp to split the yarn. They have a couple of times, but my Chowgoos were in use with this. So it was either that or my Zings, and I found they were too blunt. I tried knitting a little, when I was working on my swatch, I tried knitting it with my Zings and I just found them were too blunt, so I had to go with my Hiya Sharps. And I just kind of watch what I'm doing. A lot of times I knit without looking, especially just a plain knit stitch. Sorry, I'm all discombobulated here. I can knit without looking. A lot of times when you split a stitch, you can feel it. There's more resistance on there. But there have been a few times I have had to drop back a few rows to fix a split stitch. It's not a big deal. It's only in stockinette. So the next thing, let's do this one because this is the one I tried to knit on over the weekend. And it was miserable. This is going to be a sock for my son's partner. This is in my Star Trek Next Gen super geeky sci-fi bag. And I had showed you a sock in progress last time. I should show you the yarn first, shouldn't I? This is the Lang Super Socks that I picked up at a local yarn store in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia over COVID, I think. I think it might have been 2020 when I picked this up. 2021 at the latest. So this is going into the Scrappy Stashy Mal. Hashtag for Selma Little Big Knits is running a knit along. And then the contrast color is this Knit Picks Stroll Fingering in the Paisley Heather colorway. And it just pulls out those mauvey tones really nicely. So originally I had started these for my son because they're a 72 stitch sock, but then realized I already had a pair put away for him for a Christmas gift. So I quickly changed lanes and switched it to a sock for Cass who needs a 72 stitch sock, but she has a very short foot. So this is the first sock. So I do have a hoe. So I kind of made up this stitch pattern. I tried to show you it last time. I don't know if we're gonna be able to see it any better this time. A little bit. It's just a texture. I'm just doing panels of ribbing over 6 rounds and then alternating them. So it's kind of creating a checkerboard pattern, but it's basically just stopping me from being incredibly bored while I do, because as you know, vanilla socks are not my thing. It's really hard to see on camera. You know, this is the sole of the foot in stockinette, and this is the texture pattern. So it's pretty subtle, and it's not really meant to show. It's more just to keep me from getting bored and losing the will to live. But I think they're super cute. The yarn is showing up beautifully on camera. So that's the first full sock. And I have Baby Yoda keeping me, he's still backwards, keeping me company on this sock. So I have turned the heel and I'm working my way down the foot. And because she has lovely small feet, I don't have very far to go. I'm on the orange now, so I just have to get down to the yellow black combo down here, and it's starting to transition there. So I really only have one more full color stripe to go. I thought I was going to be able to finish these this morning before I podcast, but working and covering for vacation, doing some extra time, and being out of the house all weekend for this car show, I had a whole bunch of stuff to do. I had to get some laundry done and a little bit of clean. Anyway, household maintenance. I had to do some administrative work before I could even head out of the house and do some real work. So those will be finished next time for sure. They'll probably be finished today because now I'm looking at them going, they're almost done. I am looking at myself. Maybe I'm just doing this as an excuse now. Hello. So I can stop and have a drink of wine. Next whip. Let's go with a new one. I don't think I had... No, I know I hadn't. I went through after the Swiss Dot Shorty pattern. We'll talk about that in design chat. Thank you, by the way. I was feeling all scrappy. I wanted to just get rid of some part skeins, full skeins, just get through some strings. They're lovely, but it starts to feel like it weighs on you when you have 30 grams, 25 grams, 40 grams left. I like to do swaps with friends, and that's all great, but sometimes this commercial stuff that I like to do gift socks in, I don't like to use those for swaps because we try to do more indie dyed yarns for our swaps with our knit friends. So this was, this is a pair of socks using, I'm back with knit picks again. So the contrast color is this stroll tweed in the garnet heather colorway. It's a little darker. It's not, that's about it. It's not quite as orange as that. And this fun variegated speckle, which is Muse Adventure Speckle. I think this might have been a limited. I had two skeins of it in my stash. 2 part skeins. I've already knit 2 pairs of socks out of this. I've knit 2 pairs of man socks out of this yarn, and I still had this much left. And I had used this as the contrast color with both of the gift pairs before as well. I'd done a simple ribbed stripy sock for my daughter's fiance a couple Christmases ago, and one of my employees. He loves his hand knit socks. So he'd had a pair of these. So I had 2 part skeins of this loitering, and I thought, well, there again, I'm kind of in gift knitting mode. We've gotten past, it's past June, and there's a lot of Christmas and July stuff going on right now. If you've been around for a while, you'll know I'm not a huge Christmassy fan, so I don't tend to partake in any of that, but I am knitting Christmas gifts. I also like to knit a lot of socks in the summer because they're small, they're portable. We tend to be out of the house quite a lot doing hopefully fun, well, we weren't in June because it rained all of June, but we're hoping July is going to be lots of fun afternoons out with the cars and maybe more car shows or picnics on the water, visits to the beach. Socks are my perfect summer knitting. What about you? Do you have a favorite? What's your favorite thing to knit over the summer? Do you still keep knitting all those wintry garments, or do you kind of move over to lighter things? Curious. Let me know. Leave your answers on a postcard below. Showing my age. So I have dubbed these on Ravelry the not so Swiss Dot Shorties. I'm using my Swiss Dot Shorty pattern, but I've done it with a long leg. This is for a friend of mine who does not watch the podcast. And she has a 56 stitch foot. She's a very narrow foot and leg. So again, the dots aren't super visible, but the texture is there. And the fun stripes with that garnet heather. So I have, again, this one, this pattern is so addictive. I have turned the heel and I'm working my way down the foot. She's a size 8, 7.5, 8 foot. So I got a little bit of time to go there. I didn't take this out with me on the weekend because I had 2 other sock projects and the t-shirt, and I thought that was ridiculous for just a day trip out. How many project bags are too many project bags for being out of the house for 10 to 12 hours? This was a step too far for me, apparently. So this is being housed in my Mrs. Brown's bag. I thought the color was appropriate, and it's a great canvas, kind of hardy, beat around summer bag if I need to. I can throw my purse in there, or my wallet in there, my phone in there, my car keys if I want to. I'm hoping to get to the beach one day this week and take a little footage for you there for the next episode. Out to the dunes and Bouctouche. The next thing that you've seen before is my shift cowl, living in this beautiful Michelle's Creations bag that I got at Fiddlehead Fiber Festival back in April. I am proud to say I have 0 acquisitions this time. Telling you a fib. I got an little order from Acme Needles with a needle and some stoppers, and just that doesn't count. It's not yarn. 0 acquisitions this time. I may be going to La Violette on Wednesday morning. I can give you no promises. I'm trying to be good, and I'll tell you why at the end. Stick around use the chapters and skip forward if I'm babbling too much, but definitely go to the chat at the end because I've got some exciting news. All right, this is my shift, the shift. I call it the shift cowl. So, Andrea Mowry pattern. This is where I was last time I was here, where that little apple stitch marker is. I've mentioned before, this one can give me a little weird hand pain if I work on it too much, something with the pearls and the slipping the stitches. But I have started the decrease. My rows are getting shorter, which is great. So I am using only 2 colors of fingering weight yarn to do this shift cowl. I went down a needle size. All my modifications will be listed in the project page below. If I've missed anything, please reach out to me either by email or Ravelry, or Instagram is tricky. Sometimes if you don't follow me, or I don't follow you, I can't see the messages. So Ravelry or my email is the best way to get a hold of me if I've missed anything on my project pages, or you have any questions, or you can just comment below, because I answer all of the comments. I just love answering your comments. Please answer my question and leave me comments, because I love having chats with you guys. All right, I'm off on a tangent again. So again, I may be blowing out the color a little bit with the light that's coming in, but these are 2 yarns from Yarn Indulgences. This is going to be a booth sample for Deborah. I'm using her Indulgent Silky. It's a merino cashmere silk base. And she told me the color and I didn't write it down. Sorry. I'll get that information. I should be able to put it on the screen, or it's in my project. Oh no, it's in my project page. I'm sure it is, because she told me and I put it there. And I'm using 1 skein of the Sock Marl base, and this is Pamela. So, yeah. It's working out really well. The shift cowl, if you're familiar with it at all, it uses 3 colors of spin cycle yarn. Which is both inaccessible and quite pricey for a lot of people. We all have our own threshold, so I'm judgment-free, believe me. I've got nothing to talk about over here. But there's colors A, B, and C in the pattern. Basically, all I'm doing is I'm just switching the foreground color and the background color for each section. And I'm not really paying attention to her color change recommendations. And I can't decide. It depends on the day. Sometimes I think, ooh, I love this with the solid color bumps in it. But then I'm getting to and then I'm like, oh, but I really like the multicolored bumps in the tonal yarn as well. So I can't decide which section I like the best. But I am enjoying this knit. Like I said, I just have to do it sporadically. I'm trying to work on it 2 or 3 days a week. Just give it a couple of rounds. So that's working. I'm making progress. It did get forgotten for a couple of days. After my last podcast, I had just left my bags on the floor. and forgotten to move them back out to the living room to where I store my current projects. And I was like, I feel like I'm only knitting on a couple of things where, you know, and my brain kicked in and I came in here and there were 3 project bags on the floor I hadn't touched. So this didn't maybe get enough love. This is also on my ChowGoo interchangeable set with these cute stitch stoppers from Ginger Snap, Kim and Colin. Of course I had to have some wine themed ones. So that's trundling along. It doesn't need to be done until August. I would like to have it done this month and get it to Deborah, and that way she can do any marketing or posting and sharing and making color combos up and stuff for you guys or for her shows. Blah, blah, blah. Just checking my list. I have 2 other whips. One of them I'm going to show you now. The other one's going to pop up in design chat. So, but I'll transition quickly. So if you don't want to hear the rest of the design chat, I'll just show you the whip and you can fast forward through the chapters. Thank you, by the way, for all of your feedback on chapters. I had that in my blurb to put at the end, but most of you use the chapters, so I'm happy to keep doing it. It was definitely easier to do the second time around. And maybe it'll keep me a little less all over the place, and maybe I'll be able to stay in more defined chapters as I'm recording as well. Perhaps. Yes, so I will continue with chapters. I'm glad you find it useful. Not too difficult to do. And obviously, the more I do it, the better I will get it, like everything else. So as I mentioned, June was rainy and damp, some days quite cold. So I picked up a blanket project. Because June in Canada just screams a blanket project. There are parts of our country so dry and sunny and hot with huge forest fires, and we just couldn't get the rain to stop. And I know we're lucky in that. But boy, when you work with the public, do you know when you've had 9 or 10 days of no sunshine and rain every single day, people are cranky. I was a little cranky too, but when you have people coming into your business and you work with customer service, you put on your best face, right? You know, the big smiles, you know, that my husband would say, that's a little too much teeth, Nance, you're a little fakey there. But the rain, it was so gloomy, and it just was sucking the life out of me. And again, I don't want to make light. We were grateful for the rain, but that was a lot of rain. We've got local farmers around here who are struggling with their crops rotting in the fields. So it's either one extreme or the other, I guess. All right, let's stop the babbling here and get back on. I'm going to have to stand up again to show you this. I pulled my jelly roll blanket out of hibernation. I've got it upside down, actually. So this is using Sweet Skein of Mine Advent Calendar from 2021 and a Knit Pick Stroll Dove Gray Heather just to break up all of the colors. So this is what it looks like. And this is the where I picked up the blanket. So I put in all of these rectangle squares, plus I started a new row. I'm in the middle of a color. So this is the Jelly Roll Blanket by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. It's a join as you go to look like a jelly roll quilt. I'm sure you've seen it before. As I've had a few issues with mine. You can see my top row is more square, less rectangle. I'm trying to fix it as I go along, but I just tend to get on autopilot, so it is what it is. I'm going to have a less rectangle, more square kind of top. Oh well. So I'm working out of this bin. All these little bags have my minis in. I think I've got enough to do one more full repeat. So I've got 24 minis in there, and I'm using the Dove, the Stroll Heather. Hang on, I'm too far away from you now. There we go. And And I'm just using, I think I might have weighed how much each rectangle is taking, but I have enough. This is what I have left. So I have enough to do one more full repeat. I forget, oh, I can tell you what number I'm on. Hang on. I'm on number 19. That's not helpful at all, is it? Snowy pine, snowy pines. So I'm on 19 and this is number 5, lump of coal. So I have enough to do one more full rectangle of each. So I'm going to get a decent sized blanket out of this. I'm wondering if I would have enough to do 2. I'm going to have to weigh. And of course, my top ones that are more like squares, less like rectangles, have less rows, so they're going to have extras, but whatever. I think I'm probably only going to get one more. So it's, I can't see what you're seeing, but I'm going to get another 4 rows across there. So it's going to be a really nice lap couch blanket for me. I'm not sure how I'm going to edge it. I think it has an I-cord edging, which I probably will do to try and control the stretch maybe, because this is all garter. But yes, blanket progress from June. I have one more whip, and then we'll kind of slide into design chat, because this is a new design and I'm going to show you what I'm working on. This is in my chestnut fibers project bag. This is one of my favorites. Super bright, colorful. Has a zippered pocket in there to put bits and bobs in. I don't carry a notions pouch. Each of my project bags has a measuring tape, stitch markers, and scissors. I get measuring tapes on Amazon or at the dollar store, and I get cheap kids play scissors also at the dollar store, and put them in these bags. So I always have a full array of what I need. Usually I buy these little containers and just put light bulb stitch markers and progress keepers or whatever in there, just so, because I never know what I'm going to be working on. So this is yarn that I picked up from Ginger Snap at Knit City Montreal. It is their Lush Fingering Base in the Speckled Sage colorway. So this is the first look at this. I have not shown, I did a little sneak peek on Instagram yesterday, but it was really more showing the car with this sock sitting on my needle. I did work on this one yesterday because it wasn't quite as hot out of the car show. So my hands weren't as sweaty, but that Lang Super Sock with the, it's not a merino, it's just superwash wool. It's a sturdy German sock yarn. Perfect. But with like 98% humidity, my hands were just going, ugh, that feels gross. So I am knitting up. This is a toe-up sock, folks. This is my second toe-up design. Some of my testers are groaning. Some of them enjoyed the toe-up process. Some of them did not. So if I don't get enough testers from my regular test group for toe-up, I will be doing a test call. So I just grabbed a blocker. It's a little bit too small, but just to give you an idea, I am making really good progress on this. The reason I have to do this toe up is because this motif, I'm wanting it to look like a certain thing. So these are the Dune, D-U-N-E, Dune Grass Socks. They are inspired by my beautiful Bouctouche Beach. The boardwalk at Bouctouche is to protect the wild grass and the dune grass, the beach grass. They don't want people walking over that protected area. So this stitch motif jumped out at me in a stitch dictionary. I'm just gonna turn it around here and give you a little more. So it's a really fun, just a column design to look like the grass, and then these little seed heads So this is done using a tuck stitch, my voice kind of gave out there, which I had never done before. It's really intuitive and quite easy to do. And I think it's super effective on that pearl. So obviously the bottom of the foot is stockinette, and then we've got the gusset worked in the reverse, a German short row heel turn, and then up into a gusset where you're a slip stitch gusset, and you're decreasing your gusset stitches at the same time. If you've never done a toe up sock, I'll sit down again. Toe up socks for me are problematic because I have a very wide foot and a very high instep, and I don't like afterthought short row heels without doing heavy modifications to them. I really prefer the fit of a heel flap and gusset. We're all different. I've got a couple of my testers who hate heel flaps and gussets, but they do them because they love me. Most patterns I do let them switch out if they don't want to do the heel flap and gusset. Occasionally I'm a hard ass and tell them that they have to do it as it's written because I need those checks and balances. Back to the sock. I'm gonna just, this is the back of the, I'm just gonna take it off the blocker now, sorry. So the back of the sock has just a nice little rib detail running up there. It just kind of gives you a little sucky inness and just kind of mimics the front of the sock pattern. If you wanted, you could certainly insert this little seed head tuck stitch combination into it. I just decided not to on here to give you a rest on the back. So that's will be completely individual. So this is the first sock, and this color is just beautiful. It's blowing out a little bit. Let's see if I can get it a bit better. So it's got pops of kind of the goldy yellow colors and the darker greens, but on that light sagey base. It's very, very pretty and just kind of reminded me of the waving grass at the beach. So if I'm out at Bucktouche this week, if it's not this week, it'll be next week. I haven't been out there to the beach in ages because Hurricane Fiona, the boardwalk got damaged quite dramatically. And weather and life, yada, yada. I haven't made it back out there since. So I know the boardwalk has been reassembled. I need to out for a stroll. I need to throw a blanket down on the sand and just sit and knit and listen to the waves for a little while and recharge my battery. I was hoping it was going to be nice tomorrow. I think I mentioned it's our wedding anniversary tomorrow. 31 years. And we'd like to go out for the day, and it's going to rain tomorrow. So I was really hoping to take one of the convertibles out and have a nice drive and a picnic and a little wine and some time in a different space. We're empty nesters. We spend a lot of time together. We work together. But it is nice to have a change of scenery and get out of the house and do some fun things. It can be argued we spent a lot of time out of the house this weekend during the car show. My husband might argue that. But I am determined we're going to spend tomorrow together, and he's going to like it. Really. It's a good thing he doesn't watch this. Okay. I just went off on a major tangent. Dune Grass Socks. Toe up pattern, heel flap and gusset. Of course, you can put whatever heel that you want to put in. I'll make my testers do the heel flap and gusset, but this will be out later in the month. I've got to get this sock finished. This should probably be my goal for today, not that gift sock, because I really do need to get this finished, finish writing up the pattern, and get it into testing. Dude, sweet. So if you're on my testing list, I'm hoping to send you an email on Wednesday or Thursday and get this into testing, because I'd like it to come out at the end of this month or the beginning of August. We'll see. So it's summertime. I'm not being too deadline oriented. I'm trying not to be too deadline oriented. But yes, new design on the needles. And I didn't play coy. I showed you the whole thing. The other thing I have to chat about for design chat is the Swiss Dot Shorties pattern. Thank you so much. I have been enjoying seeing the yarn combinations, and if you bought the pattern, thank you. My donation to the local children's charity here, Moncton Headstart, was $467.50 because I paid the administration fee. I think it was $465, and then the $250 for the administrative fee for the online program that takes the donations. I better put that back in my bag, so when I go to talk to you about it next time, I know what I'm talking about. That's all I have. A huge thank you again for the Swiss Dot Shorty love, and please make sure if you do knit any of my patterns, tag me on Instagram, or send me a picture. If you're not on Instagram, send me a picture on email. I'd love to see them. Brings me great joy to know that people are working on my patterns and loving them and making things, building memories into our knits. We all build memories into our knits. I will remember that Cloudsley and those 2 pairs of socks. Those will always have car show memories for me now. I'll be at the car show next year and think, oh yeah, I was working on whatever here last year. Or I'll look at it and go, oh, it was such a great summer. Wow, that was a hot day. Whatever. We knit our memories into all of our projects, whether we gift them to people or whether we keep them for ourselves. For me, it's that meditative, the hand movement, and letting my mind do what it needs to do and think about things or people that I'm making it for. Yeah. Now I really am rambling. And my clock timer on my phone is telling me that I'm almost at an hour, so I'm not stressing about time. I decided after I keep putting out these long episodes, I'm just rambly and long, and you can fast forward now with chapters, or you can come back and visit me over 2 or 3 stints, or you can blast through and watch me all at the same time. Next up, I have been doing a lot of spinning. I have a basket full of goodies here. It is Tour de Fleece right now, and I am doing a lot of spinning. I'm not really on teams per se. I do a couple of postings every day on Facebook. Good Vibrations out of St. John. They run a casual kind of post what you're spinning. Sorry, fluff. I haven't even gotten the fiber and the spinning out yet, and there's fluff flying through the air. They run an informal spin along on their Facebook group, and I also belong to the Facebook group for the electric eel wheel, which is my 2 e-spinners that I use. So the first thing I have to show you is actually a finished spin. Last time I was here, I showed you this teal yarn that has the nylon in it. Kind of gives it a little sparkle. That's blowing it out a little bit. It's a little deeper, darker blue. That's looking a little royal. But I finished this spin. This was the Corriedale nylon blend that I got in Knit City, Montreal. The white yarn is just ties to stop it from tangling. I don't have yardage on this yet. I haven't had time to run it through my yarn counter. So I need to run it through my yarn counter and then skein it up properly, tag it, and store it with the rest of my hand spun. I'm hoping this is going to be socks. I will be. It just may be more sport weight. I think it came out a little plumper than I was expecting. But that's okay. It's lovely. It's a little... I don't know if you can hear that. It's not crunchy, but there's texture. There's texture to this. So that was just on bobbins as singles last time I was here. I finished spinning the singles before the Tour de Fleece, and the first day of Tour de Fleece I plied it. And I said I'm pretty happy with that. It's nice and balanced. It's not spinning back on itself, so that's a good spin for me. Pleased with that. I had somebody ask me about my spinning journey. As we were heading into Tour de Fleece, I thought I'd give you a quick rundown. Excuse me. Spinning. I had picked up a spindle with my friend Amanda, sweet skein of mine. We were in St. John back in 2018, I think. There was a knit-in happening in St. John. It was 2018 or 2019. Talked me into picking up some fiber and a spindle. and I enjoyed it, but I made a lot of dents in my hardwood floors. The spindle just dropped because I like to spin fine, and I've just decided to go with that. I got to put this yarn down. I'm playing with it. Empty hands. Focus. And I started looking around as to where I could take lessons on a spinning wheel, because I liked the spindle, but the spindle was too slow. I know that I've seen some beautiful spindle spinning from lots of different people on Instagram, specifically Simone Van Eyderstein, Prince Edward Island, and Vivian in Amherst, Nova Scotia. I will try to link their Instagram profiles below. They do beautiful. Oh, Threadbender is another one I follow on Instagram. The spindle spinning is amazing. But it felt slow to me, and I knew I wasn't going to get any passion for that. I totally appreciate the art of it, but it was too slow. I needed more gratification faster. So I talked to my friend Amanda, sweet skein of mine, figured you got me into the spinning thing. We should carry on. So we went to Good Vibrations in St. John, New Brunswick. Amanda's in Fredericton. I'm in Moncton. We kind of met in the middle in St. John and spent a beautiful 3 hours in April of 2019 with Liz of Good Vibrations, who gave us lessons. We spent 3 hours practicing on the Ashford Kiwi 2 spinning wheel. And she gave us some roving and taught us the basics. And Amanda and I got spinning, treadling, and playing along. Amanda looked up at me and goes, "What do you think?" She said, and I said, "I really like it." And she says, "I do too. I think I'm buying a wheel." I'm like, damn it, now I have to buy one. So we both walked out of Good Vibrations that day with Ashford Kiwi 2s. We had a fantastic lunch together. It was end of April. Both of our birthdays are the end of April, Amanda and I. I was supposed to be heading to England the week after that event, that little lesson, and meet up with Amanda in 2019. And my husband had an episode with his heart. He's got some congenital heart issues that have been fixed with surgery, but he had some issues, and it voided our travel insurance. So we were unable to go to England. So the day that we did the spinning, I felt terrible that I'd spent like quite a bit of money buying a new spinning wheel, because we were going to England the next week, and vacations, you spend money. After he had his heart incident, I realized our travel insurance was null and void, and we were not going to be able to go. I didn't feel so bad. In fact, I was very glad I'd bought the spinning wheel, because I spun through my upset and trauma. I was so upset because we were 10 days away from going on this trip we had planned for a couple of years. And yeah, it was zero regrets, zero. I'm looking at my Kiwi 2 over here. I don't spin on it as often as I used to, because I've fallen in love with my e-spinners. What is on my Ashford? Am I crooked? No, we're not even going there. My Ashford has what I call a monster bobbin. All of my scrap singles, when I end up with little bits and bobs at the end of applying, I don't Andean ply or bracelet ply or whatever. I've tried it a couple times, and I thought I was going to cut my fingers off. My tension wasn't good. If you've ever seen that, they kind of wrap the yarn around their fingers, and it's on their wrist, and it's voodoo magic. I haven't figured it out yet, but I did almost lose circulation in my fingers. So instead, I have what I call this monster bobbin, and I'm just two-plying all of my scraps. I take all of my scrap bobbins, and I'll just come in here and I'll run through them and ply them into a two-ply. It's just for fun, and I don't want to waste those singles. They're precious and lovely, and they're beautiful in their own right. I just don't have, they're not plied with their own yarn. They're being plied with something else. So that is how I started spinning. I quickly realized I am not a technical spinner. I am never going to measure grist or give you twists, wraps per inch, twists, angle. That is not ever. I'm just showing you what I'm making because it makes me happy. Spinning for me is very meditative. It's very calming. I might have mentioned last time that I tend to do it just before bed, the last hour before bed, because if I started at 7 o'clock, I will spin for 4 hours straight and I won't move, which is not good for me either. So Tour de Fleece, I'm spinning every single day. I have been working on a couple of different projects, and I have a big one I just looked at back on the bed behind you. I'm going to show you a picture of that in a little bit as we're talking through this. So the first thing I finished, as I said, was applying that Corriedale. The second thing that I finished, I'm going to put a picture up here, some pictures up here of the process. It was a gradient. I believe it's 100% merino. This yarn had no tag, this fiber had no tag on it. I know I got it in Truro, I believe in the summer of 2019. There was a small fiber festival in Truro the long weekend in August. Why do I always want to, I'm trying to get closer to you and have this really important conversation. Sit back, relax. Truro in Nova Scotia, which is about an hour and a half away. We took our car. It was a warm day. We stopped in Tatamagouche and had a wander, and Brad had some beer, and it was a lovely day. And I picked up a couple of different things, fibery things, one of which was this braid of roving, which I believe, like I said, I think it's 100% merino. It felt like merino to me. And I'll have shown you the progress that this is the finished bobbin. It's a gradient. So on the inside is all of the greens, and I worked my way out to these blues. So I have spun this on my Eel Wheel 6. These are the big 8-ounce bobbins. So this is the full 100 grams of fiber. I've got a nice little pigtail happening there. This pigtail means I didn't have enough draw on my bobbin, and it pigtailed and didn't lay flat on the bobbin like this. So that was, I was probably watching Yellowstone 1923 or something that I was super engaged with and not really paying attention to my spinning, just letting the fiber run through my fingers. Oh, it's blissful, lovely. My plan is for this to chain ply it because I'd like to hold the gradient. So instead of it being marled, if I spun this, if I plied this end to end, I'd end up with the blue with the green, with the blue with the green, with the blue with the green, and I'd end up with the green all against each other. So I've decided I don't want to do that this time. I'm going to do a 3-ply, which is a chain ply. It's basically like crocheting. You make a crochet loop and then you pull the yarn through. If you're interested, just Google or YouTube chain plying. You'll see videos. It's a very interesting technique. I like doing it once I get going. I feel a little all fingers and thumbs when I get started. And I sometimes end up with that little bump where the join is between the loop and the next run. If you're a spinner and you've chain plied, you know what I mean. I'm going to try it again. I haven't chain plied in a while, but I think it's the perfect application, and it's also a good challenge because it's Tour de Fleece and I like to do different things, not my usual 3-ply, split a braid into 3, split it into 3, spin 3 singles, ply 3 singles. I'm trying to do some different things. So this is going to be chain plied with the appley greens through softer greens through to these blues and teals. I think it's going to be really pretty. And then I finished that, I think, on Friday night. And I needed something to spin on Saturday. And I wasn't ready to start my challenge project. I'll get to it, I promise. It's not. So I just grabbed this fiber from my stash. It's from Deborah, Yarn Indulgences, who also runs under East Coast Fiber. East Coast Fiber, I think. I divided it's 4.8 ounces, so it's a really healthy amount. It's these greens and grays and shots of gold and hits teal. And so I divided this into 3, and I just started my basic, like I said, my basic simple mindless 3-ply spin, because I needed something mindless after being baked in the sun all day Saturday, and I knew Sunday was going to be the same. So I haven't taken it off. This is on my little eel wheel, my little nano. I've got a 1.0 nano that I got on a D-stash from Sue in Ottawa. Hi, Sue. I love it. But I have to tell you, I just went on to Dreaming Robots last night, and I've ordered the upgraded 1.1 motor, and I've just put on a new brake band. I'm terrible with this thing. I forgot to take the brake band off. See, I did it again. This is a brand new brake band. I think my old brake band was too stretched out. I wasn't getting any draw when I was spinning last night or Saturday night. Super frustrating. So this is just a little e-spinner. I run it off a battery pack. I sit it on a little table on my lap and we just watch TV and it's just delightful. So you can see I'm into a gray section now, but I had some beautiful greens and golds and teals happening. So actually, when we were watching the F1, the Formula One race from Silverstone, England yesterday, when we got home from the car show last night, we pulled up the PVR and we watched the race and it was lovely. A good way to have my hands moving but not have to look at what I was doing, because the race, it had a little lull in the middle, but man, did it finish really well. If you're an F1 follower, I fell into it. I used to watch it as a kid when I grew up in England. We watched it quite a lot because it's an more English European sport. Netflix has the Drive to Survive series. If you've not watched it, we got hooked and my husband was eager. Anyway, we now watch Formula One addictively and can't wait for the next season of Drive to Survive to come out to see all the back stuff that's happened. Okay. Spinning, not Formula One fan chat. Hang on, I'm just going to put this down. The next thing, after I chain ply that bobbin, my next challenge for Tour de Fleece is this rainbow bat. I'm going to put a picture in here. I posted on Instagram looking for guidance. I bought this rainbow bat from Belfast Mini Mills last year after Hurricane Fiona, when PEI Fiber Festival got cancelled. They were doing online, they were kind of promoting online sales because they had a load of stock they were bringing to the Fiber Festival that didn't happen. So I wanted to support them. I was planning on shopping from them anyway when I was there. So I picked up this rainbow bat, which is merino and mohair blend. I don't have the tag with me. Everything is over on the bed. And if I'll have this picture, you can see I unfolded this thing. It's 220 grams, 240 grams. One or the other, and it's a rainbow bat, and it's huge. I had no idea it was so big, and I wasn't sure how the hell to tackle it. I unfolded it on one night last week and had to get my I said, what am I supposed to do with this? So I've only ever spun from a bat once, and it was an art bat, big kind of chunky, tweedy, neppy bits in there, which I discovered was not my vibe. As I said before, I like to spin thin. My plan is, we're still going to have it up here, I think, because I'm planning on ripping it right down the middle. And I'm going to have the same colors for 2 bobbins. So I'd like to hold that rainbow gradient as much as possible. So my plan is to spin those 2. I think I'm going to end up having to strip out the colors. I'm going to break them into strips of each color, I think, and spin colors end to end on 2 bobbins, and then I will ply them together. So theoretically, I'll end up with a 2-ply that should not barber pole too much. I should have color meeting color for the most part. A little bit of barber poling in the transition I'm fine with, but I'd like to hold that rainbow gradient as much as possible. And I think it's the most manageable way for me to spin this. It is light and poof. Hang on a second. I'm going to see if I can pick it up because it's just delightful. We may live to regret this decision. It's ridiculous. I had it laid out flat on my floor, and I just kind of folded it like very loosely and just popped it up off the floor onto the bed. Yeah. Could this be my screenshot for my thumbnail? It's like cotton candy or candy floss, depending on where you are in the world. It's so light and so fluffy and so pretty. I don't want to ruin it. But if I'm going to do it, Tour de Fleece is the time to do it when I'm challenging myself. So hold me to it. This will be on the bobbins next time I see you, because Tour de Fleece will be over. I'm not going to have this finished during Tour de Fleece. There's no earthly way. Instead, I still haven't quite figured out how I'm going to manipulate it. It's ridiculous. All right. Hang on. Gently. Oh, so gently. I don't want to felt it or do anything ugly to it. Get the fluff off my fingers. Next is plans, knitting plans. Knitting plans. So last time I was here, I showed you my Salty Air tee. I have not adjusted the neckband. I just rewashed it and blocked it a little less. I didn't block it vigorously the first time either. I kind of pushed it, you know, when it's wet, I kind of pushed it in a little bit. So we'll see how it wears. I haven't worn it since I washed it because I was hot and sweaty in a park covered in sunscreen. I don't like to get sunscreen with the aluminum stuff on my knits. I had told you that I had 3 balls of this left. My daughter Samantha and the lovely Springer Spaniel Archie, I'll probably put a picture in here because he's just so damn cute, came up to visit for the weekend and came to spend some time with us at the car show, and she visited some friends while she was here. I said to her, this could be a sleeveless top for you. It could be, you know, so we started looking at some patterns, and she's looking for something that would be work appropriate. So wider straps. We saw some beautiful, I'll put up some pictures. I showed her some beautiful pictures. A tee from Kadri, a camisole from Kadri, and another one from Sari Nordland. And she loved both of those, but the practicality of those, it needed to be something that had a wider strap to wear with a bra, so she can wear it to work, and with a wider strap she doesn't have to wear anything over it. With the little strappy ones, she'd have to wear a cardigan or a jacket of some sort over it, and she didn't want to do that. So this was the pattern that we picked. We picked Reef by, you know, my favorite Libby Johnson, Truly Myrtle. We're going to crop it and not do the A-line shaping. So Samantha is quite short-bodied. I'll probably move the texture. There's a texture section at the bottom. I'm probably going to have to move the texture up a little bit. And we're going to get rid of the A-line shaping, because where I am pear-shaped, Samantha is very straight. She's straight-waisted. Her waist and hips are not that much difference in measurements. So that's been decided on. So that'll be my next garment cast on. I'm trying to see, I'm being cheeky to see if I can get away with not swatching. I think if I drop a needle size, the gauge for Salty Air was 24. The gauge for Salty Air was 24 stitches per inch. The gauge for Reef is 25 stitches per inch. So if I go down to a 3.25 millimeter needle instead of a 3.5 millimeter needle, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get gauge on that. So I may just roll the dice and go with it, because I've already worked with the yarn. Generally with Libby's patterns, I need to go down needle size. That 3.25 is her recommended needle, which is what's giving me pause. I normally have to reduce my needle size for Libby. So now that I'm saying that, I think I'm going to have to gauge swatch. I'm talking myself into it. I'm going to be a good knitter, and I will swatch. I'm going to try it on the 325 and the 3 millimeter and see which I like best and which I get closer to for gauge. So that is dream knitting, is going to happen soon. The only other thing I kind of have, Reef tee. Oh, hang on. I have something over here on a hanger to show you, because I need to fix this. It's not, well, no, it is. I was about to say it's not knitting per se, but it is going to be knitting. If you were here last year, I knit this bamboo, I test knit this bamboo, beautiful lace yoke bamboo cardigan. It was a steeked cardigan in plant fiber, was recommended by the designer. And I was skeptical at the time, and we ran, normally I just do a crochet steek. I took this to Deborah, who has a sewing machine. I had her run me a sewn sewing machine steek, because this bamboo is so slick. I had no confidence that the steek would hold. The steek is holding. The problem is it has stretched beyond all worldly recognition. This, I just put it on a hanger to show you. It's not been stored on a hanger. I talked about this last summer that I was going to have to do some kind of repair because the sleeves, because the whole thing stretched, you know, the sleeves were now well over my hands. It was no longer anything I could wear. I was looking for it to be a cover up over tank tops in the warm summer months. It was no longer that. I couldn't, it's unwearable in its current state. So a lovely viewer sent me some twill tape to use to reinforce this neckline to pull it in. I haven't done that yet. But stupidly, I decided, oh, I can just pull out the sleeves and I can start reknitting the sleeves. I cannot finish the sleeves until I fix the neckline. Because until I fix the neckline, I'm not going to be sure where the sleeves finish. Do you see, like, look how much it's stretched. So I'm not looking forward to this, but I need to do it. It's a beautiful cream, lightweight. It's going to be so practical to wear. And the 2 or 3 times I wore it before, it stretched to all hell. It was excellent. I was having to cuff my sleeves because it was dropping so badly. I need to do this. This has to go. I'm telling you this now. This will be repaired. I may not have the sleeves fixed, but the neckband, I will have the tape sewn in the neck by the next time I come to see you. I'm saying it now so you hold me accountable. If I have not done it, I want you all to yell at me next episode. Because I just want to knit and spin and have fun. I don't want to go back and repair stuff, but I need to do this because it's a beautiful yoke. It's a beautiful garment. I just need to do a couple of tweaks. They're substantial tweaks, but I need to do some couple of tweaks to make this wearable. So twill tape, at least, maybe I can get one sleeve done, and then I've got to rip back and fix the other sleeve to be the right length. So that's a plan. That's a plan. Hold me accountable, please. I'm going to hang it here. I may regret that. Nope, that's good. The only other, I pulled this yarn, when the Swiss Dot Shorties, I was so inspired seeing all of your beautiful yarn combinations. I went stash diving and found a whole bunch of yarn combinations I wanted to use. I just brought one to show you. These are the leftovers of Ravishing from my sock, Ravish from my sock pattern Ravishing. Collaboration I did with Kim and Colin from Ginger Snap. And then I pulled out this scrap of mystery speckled yarn. I'm going to have to go in close and blow it out. Sorry. And there we go. So it's just a light kind of salmony pink background with fun speckles in there. And I just thought it would be really pretty with Ravishing as the main color and the light color for the stripes in the Swiss Dot Shorties. Or I may just do another pattern with Shorties. I don't know. But I pulled this and I cast on. I got a long tail here. You can see I cast on and then went, shake your head. You've got too many things on the needles. And I stopped. And I pulled it out and took the needles back. And I put my Dune Grass Socks on the needles instead. Much more sensible. So this is sitting here in a bag whenever I feel like doing it. It's all ready to go. Yarn combination decided. The only other thing that's percolating in my background, Selma from Little Big Knits has a Nordic cow. There's a hashtag for it. I don't know what it is yet. I'll put it on the screen. But Selma Little Big Knits, if you knit a garment that is designed by a Nordic designer, this would count. Anina is from Finland. I have my Tankar tea yarn that I showed you last time, but I'm craving some color work. And I'm just not sure if I want to be tackling a colorwork sweater at this time of the year. So I'm going to hold off for now, but I'm percolating. I'm thinking a skein deer. I've got a few skein deer patterns that are in my library. I may, I've never knit a Sari Nordland pattern, so I might grab one of hers. We shall see, but there is a Nordic knit coming my way. Maybe August? We'll see. We'll see. If the temperature drops, I may scandalously cast on a winter yoke. Okay, that's it for the knitting content, basically. That was dream knitting / plans. We're going to go into a little chattery, rambly. There is the biggest news, and it is kind of knit themed. We have finally rebooked our failed 2019 trip to England and Scotland. So we will be traveling across the pond at the end of August into the middle of September. And why this is important for my knit life is I kind of picked the time. Well, it's a great time for me to be able to leave my business. It's a slightly quieter time. We'll just finished our big birthday sale. It's our 19th birthday this year for my small business. We'll have a big sale to celebrate that and customer appreciation and all that good stuff. That finishes the day we leave. And then it gets a little bit quieter, and then it's back to school and long weekends and summer wrap up, and people are involved in other things. They're not necessarily, we find it a quieter time. So I can leave my staff for 2 weeks, actually just over 2 weeks. And short of me having to digitally do payroll and other little things I can do online, they will be managing things for me. So besides the fact that it's quieter time for the store, coincidentally, the Southern Wool Show is happening in Newbury, in the south of England, which is quite close to where I will be staying in the south. I have family in lots of different places in the UK. If you don't know, I was born in England. My mum is English. I lived there till I was 13 years old, and I have a lot of family still there. So we are going to take advantage of the family B&B system for most of our time there. When we land, we're going to be spending a couple days in London. We've got a couple days of things we want to do in London. We did London back in 2012. My husband had never been, so this is his second time. And so we're trying to do different things. We don't want to repeat. So we've got a couple days in London, then we'll take the train to Basingstoke in Hampshire to stay with my aunt, which ironically is where the lovely Kirsty and Tracy from Wool and Wishes are located. I will be going to the Southern Wool Show the Saturday. I'm going to go for the Saturday. I don't know if there is a meetup area or somewhere, having never been to this show, I don't know if there's somewhere central that we can maybe meet up. I've had a couple of people already ask me if we can get together, and that they're going to the Southern Wool Show. If you are in the south of England and planning to go to the Southern Wool Show, September 2nd and 3rd. I just had to check my notes. September 2nd and 3rd. If you're going to be at the Southern Wool Show, I will be there Saturday, September 2nd. My husband is going into husband daycare with my cousin's husband. They get along like a house on fire, which is very handy. So I can spend the full day immersed in fibery goodness and not feel guilty at all. I am planning on shopping, of course. There's going to be vendors there I've never seen before or only seen online. But what I'm really looking forward to is meeting up with people. The winners from the giveaways last episode. So Jan, who I've been talking to, is going to be attending the Southern Wool Show. I sent both the prizes off. One went to New Jersey, one went to England. And Jan asked if she'd be able to meet up with me and have me sign her 52 Weeks Volume 2 Socks book. Absolutely. If you have been to the show before, I'll back up again because I know I'm rambling because I'm so excited for this trip. Let me know, is there a common area? Is there a great place that we could meet? Say, I will be at such and such place at 1 p.m. in the afternoon to hang out if anyone wants to come and say hello. If you see me at the show and I'm just wandering around aimlessly in a yarn fog, please do say hello also. But I'd like to kind of have a designated meetup time, that if anybody wants to find me specifically. I don't know how busy it's going to be. I've seen footage of it. It looks like a pretty big show and could be pretty busy. So yeah, that's the Southern Wool Show. And then Amy Palco from does a podcast from Scotland. First, I'm sorry, Amy, the name of it is just skittered right out of my wine-addled brain. The Scottish Yarn Festival in Perth is happening the following weekend, September 9th and 10th. And we have a trip to Edinburgh. So we're starting in the south. We're going to spend some days, London, Basingstoke, just doing some day trips to various things, spending some time with some family. We're going to take the train up to York. and spend a couple days on our own in York doing the Viking, Roman, Britain, all of the fun things in York. Really looking forward to that. That'll be the only days we're not staying with family. We're going to take the train up to Edinburgh and finish our trip in Edinburgh. I'm going to meet up with a friend from primary school when I lived in England. We've kept in touch all of these years. She lives between Edinburgh and Glasgow. So I don't know if we're going to take a trip to Glasgow to visit them on the train. I'd love to go to Glasgow. I've never been. I've been to Edinburgh before, but I was very young. 14, I think. Might be younger. Anyway, here nor there. The Scottish Yarn Festival is happening in Perth, which is not far from Edinburgh, and it's even less far. We're staying with an aunt in Kirkcaldy on the other side of the Firth of Forth. So in Leith, we're staying with an aunt, so I can get a train from Kirkcaldy to Perth quite easily. Husband daycare is not decided for that day. I think we'll probably go to Perth together, and he'll just wander the streets looking at the beautiful buildings and dodge into pubs as is required. I don't know how long I'm going to be. I don't want to spend the full day there because that's not fair to him. This is a vacation for both of us, but he's a very supportive yarn husband. He said to me, "You have to go. It's kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity that we happen to be there for this yarn show as well." It wasn't planned, but they do have a podcaster. I don't know if it's podcaster area or specific lanyards for podcasters, and I'm in that group, and I will be at Perth. No, it's not. It was the Perth Festival of Yarn. It's now the Scottish Yarn Festival. I don't know if I'm going to be there on the Saturday or the Sunday. I cannot be there for both days. We're still finalizing our day-by-day schedule. I will let you know as we get closer. I have a feeling Saturday would be busier. I would see more people on a Saturday. I'm not sure. I will be in touch on that. So if you're across the pond and either in the very south of England or going to be in Scotland at the Scottish Yarn Festival, you could meet me. The delightful, socially awkward, meeting new people-ness that is me. Because I won't have any wine to ease off those rough edges. Oh dear, goodness me. That's it. I'm looking at my time and I'm trying not to be horrified at it. I'm going to put a little bit of footage in from the car show here at the end. If it's not your jam, again, feel free to say goodbye to me whenever, but I am going to have the last couple of sips of my wine. I'm looking at my notes. I think I've covered everything. It has been lovely to be here and talk to you again. It does feel like I'm talking to friends, even though I'm only talking to my phone. I so enjoy coming and doing this. Thank you for coming along with me. Please let me know what your favorite knits are for the summer. If you're going to be attending any of those yarn events in the UK this summer. If you have any hints or tips for me, that would also be great. I don't think I'll be doing any other yarn shop shopping beyond that. Again, because this is a couple's vacation and it's not fair to my husband to drag him hither, thither, and yon to various yarn stores. I'm going to keep it to the yarn shows. And I was going to say except for Ginger Twist in Edinburgh. Pretty sure she's at the Scottish Yarn Festival, but I may have to go just to see the shop. We shall see. TBD. Like I said, I'm trying to keep it not too yarn heavy. I'm also panicking about storage in my luggage and how that's all going to work. I may be taking a lot less clothes and doing a lot more laundry. The upside is I'm staying with family, so I can do laundry. But I may be ending with the same 4 outfits. So I have room for yarn. All right, my friends. And now I've rambled through a lot of this. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your comments and your likes and your online friendship. I do appreciate it so much. Happy knitting. Happy sipping.